that dude, so they all better take heed. Got the haters going ghost like they Patrick Swayze. I've been talking real shit, y'all been talking crazy. I've been on some new shit, y'all been acting lazy. I've been it, so my words are gon' make it float. I'm like dry ice mixed with alcohol in a bowl. Or below zero winter, go and grab a coat. What else can I say? The kid is just too cold. Never told a fib, was born just too bold. Never had to fold, but did break the mold. And as the story's told, if you didn't know, I'm running up the scope. This is DMO. Can you hear me? There's some of been minds, man, they better fear me. They need glasses, they can't see it clearly. I don't chase the money, it just like to come near me. Yearly, truly, my life is a movie. Took her on a date once, now she tryna groove me. I'm really that guy, they gon' have to sue me. Then had the juice, time to mix it like a smoothie. Groovy, they asked me how I get up, I told them had to start down. Found me some real ones, now I got a crew now. Met a loyal girl, 4 years later, that's my boo wow. And now I'm out here giving new sounds like boom pow.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Haven, guys. I know we are technically a day late on this, guys, but we do apologize for that, guys. We unfortunately had a little bit of a setback yesterday, but it's okay. It's all taken care of now. Guys, we still are bringing you our mock draft for this week, which again, guys, this will be your last weekly episode of the Helmet Haven Football Fuck-Ups show until the season starts. As always, guys, Kenny's joining me. He's actually currently waiting on the bus, guys, so, you know, if you guys hear a little bit of something in the background, that's what. We're kind of doing this one on the fly, but we did want to get an episode out to you guys, and we figured the audio quality was, it was at least decent enough for us to, put out an episode. Anyway, guys, we obviously have a whole week of, news to cover. We also have our mock draft. We have a new segment on the show this week that we're gonna try, and we're gonna take a look into I guess what you would consider like the developmental leagues, and then we of course are going to have the Chargers Corner, which is going to be Kenny's moment to go off, and then of course we have our closing segment, Fuck Up of the Week. Guys, let's dive right in. Kenny, what do we got in the news for this week?
Okay, so we're going to start with the thing that I thought might be the funnest thing to talk about first. Patrick Mahomes, quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, is taking part in the spring training session alongside the Kansas City Royals.
This definitely could be interesting to talk about, and you know what? I know Patrick Mahomes was wasn't he like a dual sport collegiate athlete?
Yeah, he actually almost went to baseball instead.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, didn't he almost go and play baseball before he played football? You know, good thing he went and played football. You know, being in, he's up there with like the greatest of all times. But it's definitely interesting to see an all-star quarterback like Mahomes. Especially like rediscover his roots, almost like a Bo Jackson type player, where during the offseason of one sport he's participating in another. I almost kind of wish we could see more of that.
And we haven't really seen anyone like that since like Bo Jackson, maybe.
Like I said, I really wish we could see more of that, like more dual sport athletes.
Well,
but at the same time, though, I also understand that that the training regimens for professional sports nowadays are also so much more intense than they were, back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. And then also on that note, with quarterbacks that play multiple sports, believe it or not, this is a little-known fact to outside of the Chargers fan base. Justin Herbert actually played basketball, football, and and I think he played golf, and he fished while he was in high school too, and college a little bit.
Good on Patrick Mahomes. You know what? I definitely think I don't know that he's ever gonna play in the MLB, but it could be interesting to see him maybe land in the like a double A league or something. While football's away.
We do have some signings to talk about and a few other things, obviously. Next one is the Browns have signed veteran O-lineman Jeremiah Ifedi. I believe he's a former Chicago Bear.
Yeah, you would be correct. He's a former Chicago Bear. I believe he's also played somewhere else. But you know what? From what I know about the guy, he's a solid piece to add to that Browns line, especially a line that needs bolstering. And it's definitely a solid piece to have at your disposal. When you sign a guy like that, you definitely are making moves to protect your quarterback, especially when they're locked into Deshaun Watson. So yeah, again, guys, we aren't exactly big on Deshaun Watson on this show, but you know what, the Browns are kind of locked into him, so they need to protect him.
All right, next up, we actually had a signing that just happened yesterday. J.K. Dobbins has signed a 1-year deal with the L.A. Chargers.
Okay, so this is your team. I'll let you take the reins here.
Interesting fact about this is obviously we had signed J.K. Dobbins yesterday, but we also had signed Gus Edwards. So both former running backs for the Baltimore Ravens joins the squad.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting.
And it's actually a pretty good 1-2 punch. And obviously, if we draft a rookie running back, which I think we still will, J.K. Dobbins only locked into a 1-year deal, and makes it to where that guy probably gets playtime next year.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad thing. And you know what? J.K. Dobbins is a solid back, not a star running back like the Saquon Barkleys or people like that, but solid back to have in your backfield, a good second back to have if you're going for a dual threat backfield.
So in other news, Chicago Bears have hired Chiefs Executive Vice President Ted Cruz.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? What pisses me off most about the Chiefs isn't Patrick Mahomes. It isn't anything to do with the Chiefs themselves. It's the fact that I fucking hate saying this. Matt Nagy has now won back-to-back Super Bowls. And this dude can't call an offense to save his life. This dude's getting bailed out by Patrick Mahomes. Now, the Chicago Bears are obviously taking steps to try and be the Kansas City Chiefs, with the whole hype around Caleb Williams being the next Patrick Mahomes. So, it would make sense that the Bears want to go and poach the Chiefs, I guess.
Okay, so when asked about a potential new contract, quarterback Trevor Lawrence says, "At the end of the day, my job isn't going to change whether I get extended or not before the season." So he's still pretty young, so that's a pretty good statement by a young quarterback.
Yeah, what? I definitely think so. You know what? The Jaguars' season obviously ended once Trevor Lawrence sustained that injury last season toward the later half of the season. And obviously that's when the season for the Jags as a whole started just spiraling out of control. They ended up completely choking away the number one spot in their division that they should have had on lock, to be honest. And they ended up doing it in pretty tremendous fashion. So definitely a smart move out of Lawrence. As far as this one coming into fruition, I don't really know. I don't know how you feel about it.
I think it's a pretty solid thing to say. Yeah, I think it's pretty accurate. Obviously, Trevor tried to force his way to play through that injury, and unfortunately, it didn't end well.
I do feel like with that kind of statement, he does kind of understand that team's success is, again, built around him the same way that a team's success was built around Joe Flacco for the Browns last season. It was built off of, one guy. Same thing with the Bengals. All of their success is built around Joe Burrow.
Yeah. In other news, the Dolphins plan to pick up the 5th-year option on wide receiver Jalen Waddle.
Not surprised there. Is there anyone that's really surprised by that? The Dolphins obviously need a second receiver other than Tyreek. And you know what? Jalen Waddle, all that dude does is catch long passes. I understand that people are very critical of Tua, especially you, but Jalen Waddle you gotta give Jalen Waddle his props. I mean, come on, all that dude does is catch long touchdowns.
Yeah, he's a beast. Next up, wide receiver Cortland Sutton did not report for Monday's voluntary workouts. Sutton is going into this coming season with a starting quarterback number 10 in 7 seasons and has only $2 million guaranteed left on his deal. He had 10 touchdowns in 2023. So Cortland Sutton looking to get a bag before he goes to any type of training, especially with only $2 million, since he arguably single-handedly carried the Broncos to having an okay season last year.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely arguable, and yeah, I know the whole argument is that, oh, Sean Payton fixed Russell Wilson. Again, I put fixed in quotes there, because obviously we all know how that ended up working out, but yeah, Sutton is obviously the reason that the Broncos found really any sort of success last season, albeit that success wasn't very sustainable. But you know what? As far as this one actually playing into his hands, I think he's I don't want to say like he's got the right to do it, because obviously he's a player. He's got responsibilities. It's an obligation for you to show up to training camp and practice and all that. But at the same time, guys, like, if you're not getting paid what you want, I mean, this is like one of the most peaceful ways that a player can go about trying to get the money that they want.
Exactly. It's quite something, to say the least, when it comes to receivers wanting their money. And what sucks is, like, a lot of them, like, that want their money have earned their money. You know?
Yeah, no, especially it especially sucks when you look at guys like Justin Jefferson, that, you know, these generational receivers that are looking to get out of their situation just because they're not getting paid.
Yeah, and I mean, any team that he would go to, he being Justin Jefferson, immediately makes them like 10 times better in the receiving corps.
Yeah, no, it's crazy to see all these receivers just not getting paid. And you know what? I almost like wide receiver obviously needs a quarterback to survive. I understand that, but I almost feel like wide receiver is starting to be viewed as a, you know, like a secondary position. Like running backs are like a second class position.
Yeah, and it's quite annoying, to say the least, especially when some quarterbacks, one I'll be talking about later, have distinctly needed 2 number 1 options to be good. So yeah, we're gonna move on to the next piece of news now, where the Browns, 2 former and maybe even current Browns, I don't know where they were at last year, Rashard Higgins and Christian Kirksey have both announced their retirement.
You know what? I don't know a ton about these guys. I've definitely heard these names thrown around, especially Kirksey from time to time. You know what? Best of luck to those guys in retirement. Again, I'm not really gonna go into depth on these guys. Again, I don't know a whole ton on them, but again, I've heard the names thrown around, and you know what? I'm sure that they've got their good reasons for retiring. So you know what? Godspeed to them, and good luck to them in their future endeavors.
With Christian Kirksey, he was always a pretty good linebacker. I think he held down the Browns, and I think he played for Green Bay for a short time even. And Rashard Higgins was always like a 3rd, 4th, 5th wide receiver, so he doesn't have many stats. But yeah, good luck to them in their future endeavors, and hopefully they find something they enjoy and, you know, hopefully put a good amount of time into.
Indeed.
Next up, let me see what I got here that's still worth talking about. Okay, so another Buck, Will Golston of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is remaining in Tampa this season.
Hey, you know what? Another piece for them to secure from that last season's success that they had. You know what? They're a rebuilding team, but obviously the Bucs may be in the best situation of anyone in Tank Division, in my opinion.
Most definitely. Chiefs coach Andy Reid has said on the Rashee Rice situation, "I'm leaving that, like we've done most of these, for the law enforcement part to take place, and then we'll go from there with that." Obviously, Reed has been around the block a couple of times. So he obviously knows how to handle these situations. Obviously, a very smart coach knows to let things play out and not jump to any
definitely
type
a
of
very
conclusion.
seasoned veteran in the head coaching department, and you know what? He's definitely seen his fair share of probably not just his players, but other players as well. Just make these mistakes. So I'm proud of Coach Reed for taking it so well.
All right, next one is another pretty massive extension, I'd say. The Philadelphia Eagles have accepted the 5th-year option on Devontae Smith, as well as have signed a 3-year extension with him as well. So that keeps him in Philadelphia for 4 more seasons.
Well, you know what? The Eagles are a team that is continuing to reload after the collapse that was last season. Obviously, this team has made the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago, and then we all thought that they were a shoo-in for the Super Bowl again last season, and then obviously we all saw what happened. So obviously, this team is trying to restructure and refoundation the success that they had and try to sustain that throughout the whole season this season. And you know what? I definitely think that Devontae Smith was definitely a vital part of that offense's success. It gives Jalen Hurts a good receiver to throw to, regardless of, who's on the field. So the Eagles will definitely still be a solid team this upcoming season, in my opinion. It's definitely going to take a lot more than just a few players re-signing and a few players leaving, and it's definitely I think that they will probably be the best team in their division, if not the second best. Again, it's either going to be them or it's going to be Dallas. It's always one of those two. Because let's be honest, it's not going to be New York and it's not going to be Washington either.
The specifics of the Devontae Smith extension, by the way, is a 3-year contract for $75 million, but he's being very team friendly here because only $5 million of that is guaranteed.
That is very good for the team itself as well. When you can get a player to re-sign and it's a team friendly contract, that always improves the longevity of your team's success.
Okay, so this is little news that isn't really going to affect much, but I do feel like bringing it up. The Jets did unveil new uniforms for this upcoming season.
I actually have not seen. No, I think I've seen them, and you know what? I don't really see much differences between them and the old ones, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, it looks like they may have went with slightly darker colors for one of them, maybe, but
yeah,
maybe
like really, I don't see much of a difference between this one and what they had.
All right, so we're just going to glaze past that one because there's not really a reason to go too much in depth about it. The next signing is another big signing. The Indianapolis Colts have brought back all-pro defensive tackle DeForest Buckner for a 2-year deal with $46 million.
You know what? Good for them. Buckner is a force to be reckoned with on the defensive side of the ball. The dude's absolutely insane. Kenny, you want to rattle off some stats for us here real quick?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. I got to pull up some stats here. I don't have them. I unfortunately didn't note his stats, so give me 1 second.
Again, guys, for those of you that do ask this question sometimes, we have Kenny pull up the stats and all that because I'm usually the one running tech during the podcast. So I kind of have 2 jobs during it. We both kind of do.
So DeForest Buckner, in just last season, had 8 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 45 solo tackles. However, in his career, he actually has 61 sacks, 9 forced fumbles, 10 fumble recoveries, and 544 total tackles.
How many times has this dude been an All-Pro?
Let me check that real quick. I need to go to awards for that, I think. Actually, no, let me just go to Wikipedia for that because it doesn't show that on ESPN for some reason. Give me just a second. DeForest Buckner.
Like, guys, obviously, those stats we just mentioned, all impressive. We're about to name off some awards as well.
Okay, so DeForest Buckner spent basically his entire career in 2 places, Indianapolis and San Francisco. He was the number 7 overall pick in the 2016 NFL draft. He was a first team All Pro once, a second team All Pro once. He has 3 Pro Bowls. He was on the All Rookie team, and those are all his NFL related awards.
Well, you know what? Good on the Colts for re-signing him, especially to keep that defensive side of the ball. You know, with their leader. I definitely think that Buckner has been a good leader for that defense, and you know what? To see that continue into the future with that team, I definitely like what I like what the Colts are doing. I'm not gonna lie. I do like what the Colts are doing. I don't necessarily think that they're going to be like any sort of threat for like a deep playoff push this season, but I do kind of like the direction this team is taking, especially with signings like this.
Okay, so next up we have T. Higgins news.
Ooh, news on the T. Higgins front.
Bengals decide to franchise tag T. Higgins and if T. Higgins himself was asked if he anticipates to play for Cincy during the 2024 season or hold out for a new contract, T. Higgins says, "I do intend to play next year. I don't intend to miss any game."
Well, you know what? I guess that's good on T. Higgins. I guess that makes him more reliable than anything, and then honestly, that may go a long way into securing him a contract. At the same time, though, I was about to say, just because he's getting franchise tag does not mean that he will play. He can try to hold out to get the bag that he wants. T. Higgins, as we all know, is a pretty solid wide receiver. Not necessarily your Jamar Chase or your Justin Jeffersons out there. Excuse me. But definitely a solid wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 option to have for your team. So you know what? If anything else, this makes him look reliable, which will ultimately probably improve his chances of getting paid.
All right, so yeah, that's very good by T. Higgins. He obviously isn't forcing the team into a long-term contract before he plays. We obviously see this countless times with big name players. And it's just good to see one not be so worried about the money and just be there for the team. So,
that's definitely a good feeling.
Okay, so a little bit of something said by Joe Burrow here. He was asked if his body of work off season and all that stuff is good going into next season. Burrow says, "I'm confident I'm putting in all the work in that I can in order to stay at the level I was performing at and to make sure he remains healthy going into next season and throughout the entire NFL season as well."
Well, it's like I touched on earlier, like the Bengals' success is all built around Joe Burrow. Obviously, we all saw what happened to their season last season after he went down. They collapsed. And you know what? With the team that he will still have at his disposal, if he could still play at the level that he was playing at last season before the injury, then the Bengals will be just fine. They will still be a threat in the playoffs, at least in my opinion, barring some drastic event. But as far as the comments go, I definitely do hope that he is being truthful about it. I am a big fan of Joe Burrow, so I do want to see him come back and play at the high level that he was performing at before his injury.
All right, so next bit of news, the Seahawks have signed veteran guard Laken Tomlinson. He's a former San Francisco 49er and a former Jet as well.
I really got nothing really to glaze over on this guy. I mean, solid piece to add to that offensive line. They God knows they need the protection.
All right, so the Saints have agreed to terms on free agent wide receiver Equanimeous St. Brown, obviously the brother of Amon-Ra St. Brown, though not nearly as good.
Yeah, we all know about the St. Brown brothers at this point. Amon-Ra obviously being the more famous of the two. Equanimeous, I'm a little bit more familiar with than some people might be, with him being a former Chicago Bear. Not that this dude's a bad wide receiver, quote unquote. He's just kind of overshadowed by Amon-Ra, his brother, who is who's kind of just been in a better situation since their careers both started. I definitely think Equanimous has talent. I just don't think that Equanimous has ever been in a situation to really show his talent to the best of his ability.
Yeah, I agree. He was always kind of buried on a depth chart, or he was never really an option unless somebody got injured, and that obviously affects his numbers quite a bit. All right, so next bit of news: June 6th or June 12th this year. Obviously, this is more for people who care about this type of thing. The Patriots are inducting Tom Brady into their Hall of Fame thing for their team.
Well, you know what? Their team Hall of Fame, obviously, this is just the first step, and obviously, we all know that Tom Brady is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer in Canton when that time comes. Obviously, you know, you don't win 7 rings and don't become a first ballot Hall of Famer. But you know what? Good on Tom. Obviously, he won 6 of his 7 rings with the Patriots, albeit with some controversy. We're not gonna go and try and dive into that. That's in the past. Again, guys, neither of us are really huge fans of Tom Brady. We both had to, you know, suffer his decades-long evil empire. But you know what? Game does recognize game. We both do have the testicular fortitude to admit, okay, Tom, we don't like you, but you're the best to ever do it, and we do have to appreciate greatness.
I even heard. Okay, so let me see here. Josh, one more thing on this real quick. Let's all face it. Tom Brady walked so that Patrick Mahomes can run.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's be honest.
Let's just be real. Tom Brady walked so Patrick Mahomes can run. I don't think I could have said it any better.
Josh Allen, the Jaguars Josh Allen, not the Bills Josh Allen, motivated by personal goals after earning a new contract. He says, I am a legacy guy.
I can definitely agree with that. Josh Allen is definitely a huge threat. I remember when Josh Allen sacked Josh Allen and recovered a Josh Allen fumble for a Josh Allen touchdown. That's a whole lot of Josh Allening.
Imagine trying to say that for even 3 times faster.
I know, bro. That's a whole lot of Josh Allening.
You stumbled like 4 times and you only had to say it once. So
yeah, no, yeah, I definitely think I definitely think calling himself a legacy guy is definitely valid. The dude's a monster on the defensive side of the ball. You know what? Keep fucking shit up, my guy. Keep fucking shit up.
A minor signing, but an important one for the 49ers, who have had troubles with secondary the last couple seasons. The 49ers have signed veterans cornerback Rocky Ya-Sin to a 1-year deal.
Hey, you know what? I'm actually kind of a fan of Rocky Ya-Sin, just because his name is fucking dope as fuck. Can we all just agree that Rocky Ya-Sin might be one of the best names in the NFL?
Yeah, he's a pretty solid guy. I think he was a 2nd or 3rd string on most teams.
Oh, I'm not even talking talent-wise. I'm just talking quality of name. Like, the name that is on his birth certificate, that is fucking awesome. Imagine being named Rock.
Another under-the-radar signing, I'll call it, is the Giants are signing veteran free agent D-tackle Jordan Phillips, who last played with the Buffalo Bills.
Hey, you know what? Good signing for them. God knows that the Giants defense is gonna need the boost. So you know what? Good for them.
All right, that one we didn't really have to talk much about. Same with this one. Former Bengals and Jets tight end C.J. Uzomah has signed a 1-year deal with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Hey, you know what? Uzomah was obviously not a super vital piece of their Super Bowl run from a couple of seasons ago, albeit he was one of the pieces that was on that defense that did make it work. I feel like Uzomah is one of those guys that if he goes into the correct system, he can flourish. But if he goes into the wrong system, he is going to drastically suffer.
Yeah, that's true. It's very much one of those type of things. And honestly, he's going into a system that desperately needed a second tight end. Obviously, they have Goddard right now, but they didn't really have an option behind him, and that was definitely felt after Goddard got injured last year.
Yeah.
All right, so next up we have obviously a air quotes tragic to some, but still tragic to most because it is still a death.
Yes,
O.J.
the
Simpson
elephant in the room,
died at
guys.
76.
We're finally going to get to it. We're finally going to address the elephant in the room.
O.J. Simpson has died as a result of cancer at age 76.
And again, guys, we're not really here to touch on, the whole OJ murder thing or get any political with it. We are just here to say, you know what? For what it's worth, that OJ Simpson was a great NFL player. I mean, this dude obviously has a whole list of accomplishments that can't be overlooked.
Yeah, and we're just gonna keep it short and sweet,
Yeah, we're not, again, guys. We're not gonna go into that whole sappy thing. We're not even gonna go into the whole democratic or political thing or whatever and argue with the court case. But again, guys, it's the elephant in the room. We had to address it. We'll keep it short and simple. We'll end it there.
Rest in peace. Whether what happened. Not for us to say.
Exactly.
Still a human life. That's all there is to it.
I couldn't have said it any better.
All right, so next up, the Jets are re-signing safety Ashton Davis. Their former 2021 third-round pick had a career-high 3 interceptions last year, and I believe is a pretty integral part of that secondary. Obviously, he is overshadowed by a guy like Sauce Gardner.
Well, yeah, when you're sharing the secondary with Sauce Gardner is such an all-star. You're obviously going to get overshadowed. But you know what? I definitely think that he's a solid player, and you know what? A solid re-signing for the Jets to have, especially obviously when we all know that defense is good, but they just kind of gave up last season when. We all know the situation the Jets were in last season. Let's not glaze over it. They didn't have a quarterback at all.
Yeah, and a quarterback's obviously one of the most important positions on the football field. Next up, we have some news on probably one of the most beloved football players in the league right now. And Browns running back Nick Chubb have agreed on a reworked contract for 2024 to lower his base salary of $11.75 million with a chance to earn it back in its incentive. Chubb is working his way back from obviously the serious knee injury he had suffered, but is not going anywhere.
Yeah, you know what? I definitely like this re-signing by the Browns, and you know what? I definitely think that the incentive it'll probably be easier to meet for Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is one of the better running backs in the league. He's easily one of the first few players off your draft board in your fantasy football draft, if anything. And in all honesty, in my opinion, he might still be even after the knee injury. Obviously, with the knee injury, it will raise some concerns again because that is the same knee that he did injure in college pretty badly. So we don't know how that injury will end up affecting his long-term career. But we are kind of hoping that it's not that serious, and if he can get back to the level he was playing at, you know what? It's easily gonna be. It's gonna be a cake. It's gonna be a walk in the park for him to get that incentive.
All right. So next up, we have All-Pro return man wide receiver Deontay Hardy has signed a 1-year deal with the Baltimore Ravens. He was formerly with the Buffalo Bills and actually returned one of the punts that led to the Bills clinching the AFC East.
Interesting signing, to say the least. Again, guys, we don't really need to touch too much on this, with this being a special team signing. These guys aren't really on the field much. They're just specialists in that specific field, so that's what they do. You know what? It could be interesting for that special teams. It could end up not changing that special teams at all. Who knows?
All right, and then one last thing. This happened last week. We didn't have the details when it happened, but obviously Josh Allen did re-sign with the Jacksonville Jaguars on a 5-year deal worth $150 million with $88 million guaranteed. And obviously that is money well earned by the shit wrecker Josh Allen.
Again, agreed. We obviously touched on Josh Allen earlier with him being an absolute shit wrecker. So you know what? It's nice to see him getting paid like he is one.
All right, so I think next up we're going to talk about the let's go ahead and talk about the ranking of quarterback draft classes since 2000. This is one of those segments that we're going to test here.
This is, again, guys, this is one of those new segments. This is something that Kenny wanted to try out specifically, so this is going to be more of a segment led by him, where I'm going to just be more of a secondary commenter. So, again, guys, leave your comments on what you think of the segment as it's going, when it's done. We're always looking for feedback, and we're looking to improve the show for you guys.
Okay, so this is ranking all quarterback classes since 2000. Obviously, that is 23 all the way down to 2000. At number 23 is the 2007 class. Obviously, Nick will probably pitch in if he hears any names that he recognizes, aside from the obvious one, which was the first overall pick, Jamarcus Russell.
We all know how that went.
Brady Quinn, I guess, is the other notable name, but the rest of them are like Drew Statton, I guess, is okay. And so, yeah, I feel like putting.
Hey, you know what? We did get some solid names out of that draft class that weren't even at the quarterback position. We did get Greg Olsen out of that draft class. You know, a solid tight end. You know, obviously the quarterbacks from that class floundered hard. I mean, Jamarcus Russell and Brady Quinn. Oof. Wow.
Yeah, those were the top two, and then like Drew Statton was in the second round. He did decent as a backup, but other than that, there aren't that many notable names there.
Yeah.
All right, number 22 is the 2002 class, which had David Carr, Josh McCown, and those are kind of the two biggest names from this.
Yeah, really,
class.
just those two guys you just named. Really, even those guys, I just look at those guys as journeymen, honestly. Nothing really major to name, but you know what? Solid for what they were given. Obviously, Josh McCown obviously a little bit less, but David Carr obviously he tried to hold his own in a shitty Texan situation.
Okay, so next up we have ranked number 21 out of 23 is the 2013 class, which had E.J. Manuel, Geno Smith, Mike Glennon, and Matt Barkley as the top four quarterbacks taken.
And only one of them turned out to be halfway decent.
We obviously know that being Geno Smith, who is obviously with Seattle now. Next up, we have the number 20 is the 2010 class, which had Sam Bradford, Tim Tebow, and Colt McCoy.
Not the worst draft class in the world for the time, but obviously the game has evolved so much since 2010 that this draft class, I feel, is it's outshadowed by later draft classes.
Yeah, I don't think there's much more to say there. Number 19 is the 2006 class, which had Vince Young, Jay Cutler, and Charlie Whitehurst. One of those names was mainly a backup, though.
Yeah, and you know what? Vince Young and Jay Cutler, though, Vince Young especially. Vince Young was a hell of an athlete. I remember he was on the... Wasn't he on the... I know he's on a Madden cover. Wasn't it like 08 or something?
I think it was 08 or 09. It was one of those.
Yeah, no, Vince Young obviously made a Madden cover. Jay Cutler, obviously, we all know, was pretty solid with the Broncos, and then even obviously once he went to the Bears, he wasn't everything that the Bears fans hoped he would be. However, he is still one of the best quarterbacks the Bears have ever had, unfortunately.
By a pretty large margin, might I add.
Yeah, by a pretty large margin, too.
Okay, next up is number 18, the 2015 class that had Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota at the top two, along with Brett Hundley.
So you know what? Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota may not be the worst names in the world. I mean, Marcus Mariota is a pretty solid backup. And you know what? Jameis Winston, well, you know, it's famous Jameis. You know, it's a mixed bag. You're either going to get all-pro touchdowns all the time, Jameis Winston, or, you know, I'm going to throw 6 interceptions, Jameis Winston.
Yep, and that's basically what there is to that. Number 17 is the 2022 class, obviously more recent. Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, Matt Corral, Bailey Zappi, and Sam Howell, as well as obviously Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy.
I'm surprised this class isn't lower on the list, because the only one of those that turned out to be any good is Mr. Irrelevant.
Which is ironic as all hell.
I know, right?
All right, so number 16 is the 2009 class, which had the names of Matthew Stafford, Mark Sanchez, and that was a doubt it, other than Brian Hoyer and Chase Daniel, who are both mainly career backups.
Hey, you know what? Stafford obviously is a Super Bowl champion. You know what? What else do you want? I mean, he won a ring. That's what most players come to the league for, is to try and win a Super Bowl.
Yep, and I mean, honestly, like, Mark Sanchez, he's more famous for a meme than anything else.
Yeah, obviously guys. Obviously, you guys may know Mark Sanchez because he's obviously the poster child for our segment that we named the show after.
All right, so next up we have number 15, which was a 2019 class, which had Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, Easton Stick, and Gardner Minshew. Also, this guy obviously didn't play very long, but wanted to say it because he's no longer with us. Rest in peace to Dwayne Haskins as well.
Yes, indeed. You know what? This quarterback class, it kind of a mixed bag. You got some good names in there. You got Gardner Minshew, who's a pretty solid quarterback. You got obviously Kyler Murray, who's who the Cardinals see as their long-term option. So you know what? Kind of a mixed bag of a QB draft class.
Definitely a mixed bag. Obviously, we hopefully will see a little more of Sam Howell specifically that came out in that previous class as well.
Yeah, I would also like to see a little bit more of Sam Howell. Again, guys, we are big fans of Sam Howell on the show. We just think he kind of got put into a bad situation in Washington.
And the criminally underrated Gardner Minshew as well.
Yes, criminally underrated indeed.
All right, so the number 14 is a 2020 draft class, which had Chad Pennington, Tom Brady, obviously the greatest, quarterback of all time at the moment, and Billy Volek, a former LA Charger / San Diego Charger, who actually helped the Chargers clinch a playoff spot, I think, in 2007. So.
Some people are obviously going to be like, how is this not the number one class just because Tom Brady is in it? But when you look at the other names that were in there with Tom Brady, I mean, come on.
Yeah, like the names I mentioned out of each of these classes are like the names that most people will actually know. All the other ones were never really played.
Yeah, exactly.
Number 13 is the 2014 NFL Draft, which had Blake Bortles, Johnny Manziel, Teddy Bridgewater, Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's it.
One of the weirder classes that we've ever had, in my opinion. Some of these guys I can't really peg on if they're good or not.
Well, let's talk about real quick Blake Bortles. He was the one that led the Jaguars to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, fucking despite all odds.
Obviously, Johnny Football was probably one of the bigger busts of quarterback-wise.
As we all know.
And we had Derek Carr, who's been pretty solid along with Jimmy Garoppolo, just not that much career accolades.
Yeah, just not much growth out of those guys.
Oh, and we can't forget Tom Savage, the Texans quarterback, for a little bit. Number 12 is the 2021 quarterback class. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones.
Some of these guys, man. Guys, I just want to throw this out there. Justin Fields, Mac Jones, a lot of these guys were great. They could have been great. I'm still convinced that Mac Jones can still go somewhere else and probably be a starter. Instead, yes, I understand he's just going to be a glorified caddy for Trevor Lawrence now in Jacksonville, but I am still convinced that Mac Jones can go somewhere else and be the starter, just as much as I'm convinced that Justin Fields is going to end up taking the starting spot from Russell Wilson. I feel like these guys were a very talented draft class. I feel like a lot of them just got thrown into shit-ass situations that they really weren't really given a chance to succeed in.
Yeah, if you look at the top names alone, you have Trevor Lawrence is basically the only one that's been given a real fair shake. Zach Wilson hasn't. Trey Lance, just bad luck. Justin Fields obviously was with the Bears, and they never really surrounded him with anybody. And Mac Jones, well, he went to a Patriots team that was on the decline when he got there.
Yeah, no, I don't want to say the Patriots full-on ruined Mac Jones because I feel like he can still play at a high level. It's just it's terrible to see what the Patriots did do to that kid's confidence.
Yeah, it was not great. Next up, we have number 11, which was a 2016 NFL class, which had Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Jacoby Brissett, Dak Prescott, and that's about it in terms of notable names.
You know what? Pretty fair draft class in my opinion. You know, not the worst one in the world. I can also understand why it's ranked at number 11 though, because a lot of these guys are guys that were expected to be, you know, Super Bowl champions, and you know, not nearly all of them are. There's what, maybe one of those guys became a champion.
Yeah, let's look here real quick again. Jared Goff has made 2, lost both. Carson Wentz, I mean, we talk shit about Carson Wentz.
We
or
talk a lot of shit
do.
about Carson Wentz, yes, but let's get we'll cut him some slack here. He was pretty special his rookie season.
He did get obviously the Eagles to the spot to make the playoffs, and then obviously Nick Foles came in and won the Super Bowl ring, which obviously Carson Wentz also gets that ring, so he is a Super Bowl champion by proxy.
Yeah, technically, yes.
Obviously, the one thing that sucks about Carson Wentz's career is that injury he sustained against the Rams. I feel like that is what ruined him.
I definitely can agree with that. He was never quite the same after that.
And then we have, obviously, Dak Prescott still playing in the league today, still blowing wild card round games like it's nothing.
So, yeah, we have one Super Bowl champion in that draft class by proxy.
And number 10 is the 2011 draft with Cam Newton, Andy Dalton, Colin Kaepernick, and Tyrod Taylor.
Ooh, see, this one's kind of like a forgotten draft class. I kind of forgot these guys existed.
I mean, Cam Newton obviously led the Panthers to their first Super Bowl loss because he didn't want to jump on a fumble. Andy Dalton was pretty solid with the Bengals and is still a pretty good backup, all things considered. Colin Kaepernick had like 2 good seasons and then exploded after that. And then Tyrod Taylor still in the league and still a pretty capable quarterback at that.
Yeah, I kind of just feel like this is kind of one of those classes that just kind of went under the bridge.
Okay, and next up we have the number 9, which is the 2008 quarterback class, which was Matt Ryan, Joe Flacco, Chad Henne, and Matt Flynn are the notable ones for that.
Joe Flacco is elite. I'm not even saying that ironically. The rest of these guys, obviously, we all know Matt Ryan did make a Super Bowl with the Falcons, and obviously we all know how that ended 28-3. Yikes. But yeah, again, Joe Flacco is elite. That's all I have to say on that class.
Joe Flacco is elite. He's the only one that won a ring out of everyone in this class. Well, Matt Flynn technically did because he was with the Packers at the time they won theirs. But again, that's by proxy. 2003's class is ranked number 8 with Carson Palmer, Rex Grossman. I just literally heard.
I can't believe we're even naming that as a noble name. How bad was this draft class that Rex Grossman is one of the notable names? Hold on. How is this?
Hold on. Okay, let me tell you all the quarterbacks, and I guarantee you won't remember like 90% of them. Carson Wentz, Brian Leftwich, Kyle Bowler, Rex Grossman, Dave Ragon, Chris Sims, Seneca Wallace, Brian St. Pierre, Drew Hansen, Brooks Bollinger, Cliff Kingsbury, which is the current Cardinals coach, Gabriel Hanbin, Ken Dorsey, and then Tony Romo.
How is this draft class even in the top 10?
It's Tony Romo, Chris Sims, Rex Grossman, and Carson Palmer were the notable guys.
How is this draft class in the top 10? How?
I think because of Carson Palmer being pretty good, Rex Grossman getting to a Super Bowl, even though he was asked, they still have to give him some credit there.
He got carried to a Super Bowl by... Hold on. Yes, Rex Grossman made a Super Bowl. But he was carried to a Super Bowl by an elite Bears defense.
And obviously we have Tony Romo, which was pretty good in Dallas.
It's just...
Number 7. Let's go ahead and move on because that's
I can't believe that draft class was number 8. How is that in the top 10? Oh my God.
Good question. Nobody knows. All right. So next up we have number 7, the 2021 draft class. So this one's going to have some notable names off rip here. Michael Vick, Drew Brees, are the main two, and then Mike McMahon, who I believe was the Bears quarterback at one point, if I'm not wrong.
You know what, Michael Vick and Drew Brees, definitely notable names. Obviously we all know that Mike Vick had some issues with the law, and then he obviously paid his debt to society, and obviously he has since then done everything he can to right his situation. Good on you, Michael Vick. We've never really touched on this on the show, but I feel like Michael Vick is one of those feel-good stories where he made a mistake, he made a very big mistake, but ever since he learned his lesson, he's done everything he can to make right about that mistake.
Yeah, most definitely, and obviously we know Drew Brees won a ring with the Saints and is
Drew
one of the
Brees
best
is
passers
forever
ever
going to
exist.
be elite, and one of the GOATs.
All right, next up we have the 2012 draft, which was number 6. Andrew Luck, aka the most what could have been stories, I believe.
Oh, indeed. Indeed.
RG3, Ryan Tannehill, Brock Osweiler, Russell Wilson, Nick Foles, and Kirk Cousins.
Not the worst draft class in the world for those guys while they were in their prime.
Yeah, if you look here, it's like Andrew Luck obviously could have been an amazing passer.
Yeah, obviously, while all these guys were in their prime, obviously, these guys were obviously a pretty solid draft class. Most of them turned out to be, at least halfway decent.
RG3, obviously, he, much like Luck, his injuries ruined him pretty early on.
Yeah, he's another what could have been story.
Ryan Tannehill obviously resurged his career with the Titans after his Dolphins days. Brock Osweiler helped the Broncos not fall out of playoff contention and helped them, by exchange, get a Super Bowl, which he is a Super Bowl champion, obviously. We have Russell Wilson, who led the Seahawks to their first Super Bowl, and they should have ran the ball, and he could have gotten a second one. And then we obviously had Nick Foles, who won the Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles, and then Kirk Cousins, who is still putting up massive numbers even with his old age.
Yes, indeed. One of the better draft classes, and you know what? I almost feel like this one could have been placed higher.
Okay, so number 5 is the 2005 draft class, which had Alex Smith, Aaron Rodgers, Kyle Orton, Matt Castle, and our favorite journeyman, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I almost wish the Bears had built around Kyle Orton instead of Rex Grossman. I'm just going to come out and say it.
Wait, didn't Kyle Orton and Jay Cutler, wasn't that like a trade for them to go to?
Yeah, we essentially traded Orton for Cutler. And a few other things, but it was essentially quarterback for quarterback.
But obviously, the top names of this draft speak for themselves. Alex Smith came back from an injury that almost took his life, and then Aaron Rodgers winning a ring with the Packers.
Aaron Rodgers obviously going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer when that day comes. As much as I can't stand him, Alex Smith, I definitely feel like he was able to resurge his career a bit after he kind of died out a little bit after his later days in San Francisco. Obviously, we all know about that injury that nearly ended his life and especially ended his football career. But you know what? Alex Smith, you know what? He was definitely a great quarterback.
I can't find any good deals. Okay, so next up is number 4, which is the 2018 class. Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Mike motherfucking White, and those are the notable names.
A lot of these guys were like guys that were like, we weren't convinced that they were gonna be good, and then they ended up being good.
Obviously, we touch on Baker almost every week in his comeback story, his amazing Tampa Bay run that he's been on already.
Yeah, again, like Baker's story speaks for this entire draft class itself. In my opinion, honestly, it's really guys that got thrown into bad situations and then later were able to like rebirth their careers.
Obviously, Sam Darnold hasn't done much, but he's actually done okay when he's given some chances at a backup. Obviously, we know that Josh Allen's one of the best passers in the NFL, and we all know Lamar Jackson.
After like the first 3 seasons, we were all questioning if Josh Allen was going to be that guy, and then 4th year Josh Allen happened, and we were like, holy shit, this dude's a god.
So that was a fire truck. Okay, so we obviously know Lamar Jackson's one of the best dual threat quarterbacks
Yeah,
to
that
ever
one
exist.
too. I'm surprised this isn't ranked at number one. This is surprising. This is surprising to see this one this low.
And then Mike White, obviously, really good backup with the Jets.
Yeah, I am
All
very
right,
surprised to see this one
number
this
three
low.
is 2000. This one's going to be surprising that it's lower too. 2017 NFL draft, which had Mitch Trubisky, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Josh Dobbs, the GOAT Nathan Peterman, and Taysom Hill.
The GOAT Nathan Peter meme. I love how you said that nonchalantly. But again, I feel like this is another draft class that people are gonna look like and be like, "How is this not number one? Because Patrick Mahomes is in it." But again, like, come on, Mitchell Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, come on,
Mitch Trubisky, obviously, okay for a little bit, but then obviously fell off the face of the planet. And then Deshaun Watson, we don't got to touch on that. We know what happened there.
Yeah, no, he's never gonna be as good as he was in Houston.
So yeah, you have Patrick Mahomes. Yes, does have 3 Super Bowls, but he is literally the definition of carrying this class on his back right now.
Literally.
Then we have number 2, the 2020 NFL class, which had Joe Burrow, Tua, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, and Justin Fields.
Oh. Okay, so obviously, I'm not a big fan of Jordan Love. I've touched on this. Half a season of good football is not enough to convince me that this kid's a generational talent like Packer fans are hyping him up to be. But the other names in this draft class, I can sort of see why this one is ranked where it is. Did we lose Kenny? Excuse us one moment, guys.
Yeah. Been that dude, so they all better take heed. Got the haters going ghost like they Patrick Swayze. I've been talking real shit, y'all been talking crazy. I've been on some new shit, y'all been acting lazy. I've been it, so my words are gonna make it float. I'm like dry ice mixed with alcohol in a bowl. Or below zero winter, go and grab a coat. What else can I say? The kid is just too cold.
I don't know what happened there.
Excuse us, guys. We had some technical difficulties.
Okay, so like I was saying before, it probably cut out. Obviously, Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts both made Super Bowls, lost them. Justin Herbert's one of the best pure passing in terms of arm quarterbacks in the league.
I feel like this quarterback class is definitely the class that, you know, like, their team's success is built around them.
And then Tua obviously still has shit to prove, and then Jordan Love has had half of a good season.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah. All right, I guess moment of truth. Number 1.
Number 1, I had to refresh the page, so give me just a second to get to the bottom here. Number 1 is the 2004 NFL Draft, which had Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, Matt Schaub, Luke McCown, and yeah, those are kind of the big names there.
That's the number 1 draft class, in their opinion.
In their opinion, yes.
That beats 2021. That beats 2020. That beats 2018. The fuck?
Yeah, definitely do not get that one. I honestly think 2004, then like 2021 and 2020 should have been the top 2. Obviously, I think they got 2020 correct, but you definitely could have put someone else there. But if you look at just the top 3 names, it definitely would have been in the top like 4 or 5 regardless, most likely.
I still feel like number 1. That's overrated, man.
Yeah, that's a little bit overrated, but there you guys have it. Those are the rankings of every quarterback class based on NFL, I guess, people in the NFL right now in terms of analysis.
Yeah, I guess so. All
All
right.
right, so Nick, how about we introduce our first new segment, the 30-second timeout?
Yes, guys, we are adding another new segment. This one is going to be a permanent new segment, hopefully. Assuming that you guys like it. But guys, this is the 30-second timeout. This is where we're going to be covering anything that may be happening in, I guess you would call them the developmental leagues, the spring leagues, I don't know. The USFL, the XFL, the UFL, whatever it's being called. So guys, welcome to the 30-second timeout.
What the hell's going on out here?
Okay, guys, so we're going to talk about the UFL, which is obviously the two leagues combined. Currently, we're just going to talk about the top statistical getters right now because I feel like there's not much else to talk about other than maybe scores. But we figured we'd talk about some notable names that are maybe in each of these categories, such as A.J. McCarron being number 3 in passing yardage right now for that league.
Hey,
Obviously,
you know what?
people might know
You know what? I'm just happy that we have football during the off season. You know, we have football year round.
And then the next one we got here is Matt Corral, which is obviously last played with, I think it was the Panthers. And maybe the Patriots even had him on their roster for a bit. But those are two of the notable guys.
It's nice to see that we have like these developmental leagues or these minor leagues where, you know, players or even like guys that are like walk-ons can like get a start and maybe eventually end up in the NFL. We've obviously seen it happen already where guys from the original rebirth of the XFL have found contracts in the NFL.
Yeah, like for example, AJ McCarron was with the XFL, then went back to the NFL, and then now is back with the UFL.
You know, again, it's nice to see that we have these kind of leagues like this, just so like players can develop their skills. You know, not every player can go right into the league and develop there, like some quarterbacks can. You know. It definitely I definitely think baseball does it a lot better where they farm their talent to be the best of their ability, out of college and put them in developmental leagues. And I definitely think that having leagues like this for football is definitely going to it's only going to be a good thing for the sport.
Okay, so in terms of rushers, there's no notable names from the NFL. So I'm just going to list the top 3 being Adrian Martinez, CJ Marable, and Mateo Durant. These are obviously players that are trying to see if they can maybe earn an NFL contract sometime in the near future. In terms of wide receiver, Cody Lattimore, I believe, was a guy that played with the Giants, I believe. That's kind of the only name in terms of wide receivers, but the top ones are Deion Kane, Marcus Sims, and Tyler Vasquez. Maybe. Again, guys, this is just maybe, this is just going to be mainly stats. I think when we do this next time, maybe we'll go over the scores. But this is just to see if we recognize any names in the top performers.
Yeah.
So here we go. We have nobody in terms of defense with tackles, it looks like. But Jordan Mosley, Jordan Williams, and Willie Harvey are going to probably be looking for NFL contracts after this season for them. Special teamers, we do have some notable names here in Chris Blewett. For those of you that don't know, he, I believe, was a Steelers kicker for a little bit. Ryan Santoso, and then for those of you that watch YouTube, the YouTuber Destroying is also in this league.
Interesting.
And then the top scorers for this league are E.J. Perry, Ricky Person Jr., and Marcella Atium. And for all-purpose yards, it's Darius Shepard, Marcus Sims, Jawan Manigo. And that's going to be our 30-second timeout. There's not much else to talk about.
Again, guys, just a bit of a shorter segment, but we did want to kind of address some of the names in the developmental smaller leagues. Again, it's just nice that we have football year-round now. We live in a world where there's football year-round, and that makes me happy.
All right, so next up, we're going to go ahead and do our mock draft, aka
Yes,
the main segment of
the meat and potatoes of the show for this week, guys.
Okay,
guys,
so for those of you that might...
Yeah, Kenny, do you want to explain the format in which we're going to be doing this?
Okay, so basically how this is going to go, guys, is I'm going to be talking with Nick here about who we think each team is going to draft. I'm going to put it on this draft board that's in front of me. He's going to do the same, and then afterwards, we're going to see how much different our picks are compared to the simulated picks.
And again, guys, we are only doing the first round.
Okay, so obviously, one first round pick is held by the Chicago Bears. I don't think any of us are going to second guess this. It's going to be Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I don't really think that there's any. I mean, I've seen some articles that say like Drake May, but no, it's going to be Caleb.
All right, next up we have the Washington Commanders, who have been linked to a couple of quarterbacks in this class. But I do believe they are most likely going to go with Jalen Daniels, as that's been one of the names mentioned the most by them.
You think they're going to go Jalen Daniels? I think I think they're either going to go Jalen Daniels or Drake May.
I think because of, maybe they go with Drake May because he looks a little closer to their last few quarterbacks, and he does have some ability. So,
you know what? But you know what? I definitely can agree with your assumption of Jaden Daniels, because I've seen a lot more articles linking our next team with the third pick to Drake May.
So we're gonna say Jalen Daniels, obviously.
Daniels there, yes.
Commanders. All right, so New England is the third pick, and Drake May just looks like every quarterback they've drafted since Tom Brady.
Exactly, and obviously I've seen a whole bunch of articles about this kid ended up in New England. I don't think that there's any question in anyone's mind. I think that Drake May is going to end up going to the New England Patriots.
Now, I do want to mention one more thing that I forgot to mention. We're not doing any trade in this because that would just make it too complicated.
Yeah, we're not going to be trading up spots or down spots or anything.
And I think we can both agree if Arizona does not move down, they're probably taking Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, I don't see them moving down to begin with, so I easily have them taking Marvin Harrison Jr.
Obviously, my Chargers, I've already mentioned this to you before. I think it's going to be Malik Neighbors, most likely.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Malik Neighbors goes to L.A. Up next, we have the New York Giants are on the clock in need of a quarterback, wide receiver, offensive line, just pretty much everything.
Now, this is where we actually do have to talk a little bit more because those first 5 picks were pretty easy. This is one where they need so much.
Yeah,
but
this is definitely one of those weirder ones where you look at it and they're like, damn, this team kind of needs like everything.
See, and we talked about this off screen, guys. We don't think they're going to go quarterback because they're still paying Daniel Jones, and he's definitely
they're unfortunately locked into him for year fucking 6. My God.
So for them, I think they go with a weapon for him, and maybe I'm thinking Brock Bowers or Odunze.
I definitely think Odunze might not be bad. I've seen a lot of people saying that Odunze is going to go to the Bears, but I feel like with the 9th pick, the Bears would need to be higher in order to score Odunze, especially looking at who is still ahead of them before their 9th pick. So I definitely think that Odunze going to the New York Giants would be a fair assumption.
Next up, we have the Tennessee Titans.
They're in need of a wide receiver, offensive line, defensive back. What are we thinking here, Kenny?
I'll be honest with you. What I'm thinking is they go with they just lost Christian Fulton, who was, I think, their second or third corner. So I think they go corner. And I think specifically they go Quinyon Mitchell.
Quinyon Mitchell of Toledo? Yeah,
yep.
I can agree with that take. They definitely do need some help in that secondary, so I definitely think that's a fair draft for them. Moving on to the 8th pick, we have the Atlanta Falcons.
I don't think this one's one of the ones that it's a little bit harder to figure out because their only 2 needs that show up is D-line and cornerback.
Yeah, it's definitely a team that needs to rebuild their defense. I definitely think that they've definitely rebuilt their offense in free agency.
Who do I think they're gonna get? I think they end up with the edge, Itu Latu.
How do you spell that?
Laiatulatu.
All right, yeah, I see him.
So I think that guy gets drafted to the Falcons.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with this guy, but but I'm looking at his stats right now. From what I'm seeing, I definitely think that's a fair assumption to see him go to Atlanta.
All right,
Guys,
next up
we have the number 9 pick, which again it belongs to the Chicago Bears. Kenny, I again with us going with Rome Odunze going to the Giants, I definitely think that the Bears are going to look to bolster their offensive line and protect Caleb. So personally, I got the Bears drafting Joe Alt out of Notre Dame.
I do too. The only one I thought maybe could have been drafted instead of him would have been like Stephon Newton to help their D line, but I do think they go with Joe Old as well.
Up next,
New York
the
Jets
10th pick, we
next.
have the New York Jets.
Honestly, with the New York Jets, they have a lot already. They obviously did, look at a lot of their needs and did so in free agency. So I think this is where Brock Bowers goes.
You think Brock Bowers?
Yeah, because I do not think they have a tight end right now.
You know what? Thinking about it, I think you're right. And you know what? I definitely think number 7 overall could be a pretty solid position for Brock Bowers to land at. I definitely think he's going to be a top 10 pick. And
So yeah,
we're
go with
already
Brock
at pick
Bowers
10. So yeah, Brock Bowers to the New York Jets.
Now we have the Minnesota Vikings first, next, and I think this is where the man known as J.J. McCarthy ends up going to.
Yes, indeed. I've seen a lot of rumors about J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan going to Minnesota, and you know what? I definitely feel like he can probably land himself at the number 11 pick. I definitely feel like Minnesota can feel safe about drafting J.J. at the 11th pick with, assuming that our mock draft here is, pretty accurate, which I would like to imagine that it's going to be pretty accurate, especially in these earlier rounds.
And keep in mind, too, guys, this is without trading up. Obviously, if they trade up, they probably still pick him, but this is without trading up.
Yeah. So up next, we have the Denver Broncos.
Denver is in a weird situation because they also need a quarterback, but their options are pretty limited here.
Yeah, and honestly, the best option at quarterback right now would be Bo Nix out of Oregon or Michael Penix out of Washington.
And the thing is, do we think that he wants to use a pick on a quarterback here, or does he want to move back?
We can also look at because we also know that Denver needs receivers. Adonai Mitchell and Brian Thomas are probably the 2 best receivers left on the board there at ranks 22 and 25.
I think they go with Adonai Mitchell.
Adonai Mitchell?
Yep.
You think they're going to go wide receiver over quarterback?
I do, because they have a very disgruntled Cortland Sutton right now, and they did lose Jerry Jeudy as well.
See, I think that they're going to go quarterback because I think that they're not going to be content with Brock Bowers being their quarterback.
All right, let's go ahead and say I think they take Bo Nix, though. I think he's built more like what Sean Payton is looking for.
Yeah, no, I think Bo Nix is definitely the 12th pick.
Next up, we have the Las Vegas Raiders that need a lot. Now,
so
most people would
this
say
team obviously also needs a quarterback. The best one would probably be Michael Penix. That's the last one that's even in the top 50.
Now, do I think they go quarterback? They might.
They could.
They could.
Obviously, this team also needs a running back. This team needs an offensive line. This team needs linebackers. They need corners.
I think they end up going with Cooper DeJean. Honestly, they're having to play Justin Herbert and Mahomes twice a season. And obviously, if Bo Nix
I guess
goes,
that's
then
fair. And plus,
plus,
we all know that they did just sign Gardner Minshew to probably be their QB1 for the season.
And yeah, they might decide to wait, and then maybe, who knows, maybe Penix falls a little bit further.
Who knows? I guess you could be right. So I think we can go Cooper DeJean to the Las Vegas Raiders.
All right, next up we have the New Orleans Saints. This is kind of a tough roster to figure out because they do have a lot of pieces, but they're all aging pieces as well.
Yeah, that's definitely fair to say. They're definitely one of the older teams in the league.
I think they go tackle here, to be honest.
I think I was about to say I definitely think they're probably going to go after something on the offensive line. So I definitely think tackle would be probably a fair assumption.
And I think they're going to go with Byron Murphy the second. They're where they're at. This is 2 picks after where he would have went, so I feel like this would be a good place for them to take him.
Yeah, no, either that or maybe Drazon Newton out of Illinois.
Yep. Yeah, you know what? Both of those could work for them. We're going to go ahead and go with the D lineman, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Byron Murphy.
Oh, I went with Newton.
I'm going Byron
My
Murphy
bad.
there. It's fine. Next we have the Indianapolis Colts.
Now, we know this team does not need a quarterback.
Obviously, they're more in need of a defensive back and wide receiver.
I think they go with Terrion Arnold here.
Let me pull this guy up. Out of Alabama.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption. Looking at his stats here, I think he might be a good fit for this team. So Terrion Arnold to the Indianapolis Colts. Put it in.
Next, we have the Seattle Seahawks.
Guards, center, linebacker, safety. Like, this team's kind of a mess too.
Their third need is edge, and there's Dallas Turner right there for them to take.
That is true. You think they're going to go Dallas Turner? I can definitely agree with that.
I think so as well. They've lost quite a bit of their defensive pieces, I believe, and so I feel like this would be a good guy to bring in to kind of help revitalize
Dallas
that
Turner
position.
out of Alabama to Seattle.
Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think there's much to think about here. Their O-line was atrocious last season.
Yeah.
I think they go O-lineman here.
You think they go what?
I think they go O-lineman here.
Interior O lineman or offensive tackle or what?
I think they're going to go with center Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon.
Out of Oregon. Let me see here. Jackson Powers Johnson.
Yep.
Yeah, no, definitely feels like this guy could fit a need for this team. Jackson Powers Johnson to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Next, we have the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes, indeed. This team needs a tight end, a tackle, and a defensive interior lineman.
On your board, Byron Murphy is already gone.
Yeah, that's true.
So you go with who's the other inside guy that
It'd be
I took?
Drazon Newton out of Illinois.
Yeah, you click that. I'll click Byron Murphy. That way, our things are basically identical.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, we have the Rams, who need quarterback, tackle, D-line, linebacker, and cornerback.
Here's
I
the
don't
thing,
think
though.
there's
I don't
much
think
to
they
think
go
about.
quarterback. I don't think that they're high enough in the draft to land a good quarterback. Although we do still have Michael Penix on the board.
I think they take Jared Verse, though, the edge rusher. They got to find someone to replace Aaron Donald, and I think that's their best option in the draft.
Jared Versa, Florida State. Indeed, I can agree with that take. The edge rusher, let's put it in to the Los Angeles Rams.
Okay, now we have Pittsburgh, who needs wide receiver, tackle, corner, and cornerback. I think this is where Talesi Fuaga goes.
Yeah, I definitely think that they're going to need some protection for Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, no matter who ends up being their QB1 at whatever point in the season. I definitely think that Fuaga is definitely going to be a fair piece to add to that. So Fuaga goes to Pittsburgh.
Dolphins are next, and I think they just go ahead and just take a tackle as well with Troy Fatuno, because obviously they probably want to
obviously
protect
this is just
Tua a
another
little
team
bit
that's
more.
probably just looking to protect their quarterback a little bit more. This team doesn't really need a whole lot. We're getting into the teams that really don't need a lot.
So we're going Troy Fatuno, right?
Yes.
Okay, next up we have the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, don't need much, but they did just lose All-Pro center Jason Kelsey, so I think they go Zach Frazier out of West Virginia.
Zach Frazier. Okay. Yeah, you know what? With the loss of Jason Kelsey, I definitely think that's a fair take. Zach Frazier out of West Virginia goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. Up next, we have the Minnesota Vikings on the clock again.
I don't think we got to think too much on this one. Michael Penix Jr. isn't going to be the option because J.J. McCarthy was already taken before him. So therefore, I think they go with Nate Wiggins out of Clemson.
The cornerback? Let's take a look here.
Yeah, Nate Wiggins, cornerback. They desperately need the secondary help at this point.
Yeah, no, the overall grade with being an 82.5. Yeah, no, looking at these stats, you know, defensive snaps 492, coverage snaps 293. Yeah, no, I definitely think this is a fair assumption for a good corner. Yeah, no. Nate Wiggins out of Clemson to the Minnesota Vikings. Up next, we have the Dallas Cowboys.
I think that they go tackle here.
Fashanu?
They lost. I think they take I think they take a tackle here, and I think it's Fashanu or Mims.
You know, now that you mentioned Mims, I almost think that they almost go Mims over Fashanu, just because I feel like that would be a Dallas Cowboys thing.
Also, they just lost their all-pro tackle, Tyron Smith, to the Jets, so that would make sense, too.
So, yeah, do we want to go Marius Mims?
Yep.
All right, yeah. Marius Mims to the Dallas Cowboys, guys. Up next, we have the Green Bay Packers.
Again, I know it's kind of getting boring, but I do think they go tackle here, and I think they go...
I think so, too. I
JC
think this team seems to be pretty sold on Jordan Love being their QB of the future, so I think this is probably where Fashanu will end up.
Yeah, let's go with Fashanu here for sure. Next up, we have
the Tampa Bay Bucks.
I honestly think they go... This is where Kool-Aid McKinnis goes.
Cool. I still can't believe someone named their kid Kool-Aid.
Neither can I, but I do think that's where they end up going here.
Kool-Aid McKinstry, you also get my award for being the #1 overall best name in the draft.
Because if you look, their needs running back, they have a solid running back. Tight end, they have Otten. They have a good guard. They have an okay center. And they have their defense basically put together, but they need to get better secondary if they want to compete in the playoffs, and that's why I think it's going to be Kool-Aid.
Yeah, no, I definitely... That's why I think it's going to be Kool-Aid. Do you hear the words coming out of your mouth, bro?
I do, but, you know, professional over here, so...
Up next, we have the Arizona Cardinals.
Arizona obviously took a wide receiver with their first pick, being Marvin Harrison Jr. Do we think they double down and take another one, or do you think they go?
I don't think so. I think that they're probably going to be happy there. I think they're probably going to look into some more protection for Kyler.
So you're thinking Latham or Barton?
I'm probably thinking Latham.
Yeah, I think Latham definitely goes there. They need to protect Kyler at all costs at this point. So yeah, I think that's where they go.
Up next, we have the Buffalo Bills on the clock.
This is where I think Adonai Mitchell comes into play.
I was about to say, I think Adonai Mitchell goes here. We all know that this team just lost Stephon Diggs, so they're going to be looking to fill that hole. So I definitely think Adonai Mitchell lands himself in Buffalo.
Yeah, I think that's where he goes. Detroit Lions are up next.
I don't know. This is kind of a weird one.
I think they go cornerback Mike Sinneris, still out of Michigan.
The corner?
Yep.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I definitely think that could be a fair pick for them. They obviously do need some solider foundation in that secondary.
Also want to point out that Cameron Sutton is also not known if he's going to be playing next year or not. So this will be a good idea for them to pick up a corner to replace him.
Indeed. Up next, we have the Baltimore Ravens.
Baltimore is a bit of a tricky one because they have a lot of what they need, but I think Peyton Wilson goes here as they did lose Patrick Queen.
I think that's a fair assumption as well. North Carolina State, Peyton Wilson goes to the Baltimore Ravens. Up next, we have the second to last pick, the San Francisco 49ers.
I think that it shows they need O-line and corner, and that's about it. And I think that's pretty accurate, to be honest with
I
you.
think they're probably gonna go corner and probably go Rakestraw out of Missouri.
Yeah, I think so too. He's the only corner that's really going to be worth until TJ Tomba, probably. But I feel like there's a pretty good gap between the two. So
So yeah, Rakestraw to San
Finally.
Francisco, and then finally our final pick for our mock draft: the Kansas City Chiefs are on the clock.
okay, so I think that Kansas City is one of those teams where they don't need a lot, but I do think they go wide receiver here. They do have Marquise Brown, but with Rashee Rice's current situation, they definitely need to draft a wide receiver here.
I definitely think so as well. What are we thinking? Brian Thomas out of LSU?
Yeah, I think that's a good one to do.
All right, there it is. We have our mock draft for the first round, guys. We have
And now
Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Quinyon Mitchell, Liati Latu, Joe Alt, Brock Bowers, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, Cooper DeJean, Byron Murphy II, Terrion Arnold, Dallas Turner, Jackson Powers Johnson, Jerzon Newton, Jared Verse, Talise Fuaga, Troy Fautanu, Zach Frazier, Nate Wiggins, Amarius Mims, I'm not even sure how to say that, Fashanu, Kool-Aid McKinstry, J.C. Latham, Adonai Mitchell, Mike Sainstrill, Peyton Wilson, Ennis Rakestraw Jr., and Brian Thomas Jr. as your first round class of the 2024 year.
And now we talk about I'm gonna try to see what the latest experts think is going to happen in the mock draft, because we cannot simulate the draft on that site. So let's see what the latest mock draft says when it comes to the air quotes around experts think is going to happen. Okay, so let's see. Okay, that's just the Saints mock draft. Give me 1 second here. Okay, there we go. So the expert Ryan Wilson believes that this is the way that the draft is going to play out. Caleb Williams 1, Jalen Daniels 2,
Correct.
Drake May 3,
That is also correct.
Malik Neighbors 4.
Interesting. We have Marvin Harrison Jr. going for.
He also, obviously, we didn't do trades, but he did. They see the Vikings trading up with the LA Chargers to snag J.J. McCarthy.
Interesting.
Marvin Harrison Jr. goes to the Giants.
Ooh.
Joe Alt would go to Tennessee. Jared Verse goes to the Falcons, who I believe that's who we picked for them.
Let me take a look. For the Falcons, we selected Liati Latu.
Okay, that's right.
Jared Verse
then
went to the LA Rams.
The Bears, Dallas Turner would be the edge rusher taken at 9.
Why would they get another edge rusher? Their defense is already solid.
Rome Odunze goes to the Jets.
I don't see Romo Dunze dropping that low.
J.C. Latham goes to the Chargers now at 11. Terrion Arnold goes to the Broncos. Michael Penix Jr. goes to the Raiders. Alamania Fashanu goes to the Saints. Quinyon Mitchell
I'm just realizing this now, but we don't have Penix going in the first round at all.
Yeah, they definitely could have. But, I mean, we were basing it more off of the fact that there could be a quarterback that drops out of the first round.
That is also true. Like I said, this is all based off of, no trade-ups, no trade-downs, whatever.
Troy Fautanu goes to the Seahawks. Byron Murphy goes to the Jags. They have Brock Bowers going to the Bengals.
I don't see him
Johnny
falling
Newton.
that low.
Johnny Newton going to the Rams. Talicia Fuga goes to the Steelers. Jackson Powers
Hey, we have the
Johnson
Fuaga
goes.
pick, right?
Jackson Powers goes to Miami. Cooper DeJean goes to the Eagles. Brian Thompson Jr. goes to the Chargers, also via trade with Minnesota.
Yeah.
Amarius Mims goes to the Cowboys.
We got that one right, too.
Kool-Aid McKinstry ends up going to the Packers.
We have Kool-Aid at 26 instead of 25. We have Fashanu at 25.
Graham Barton going to the Tampa to help protect Baker Mayfield. Latu Latu goes to the Cardinals. They have a guy named Chop Robinson, edge rusher, going to Buffalo.
We have a Donnie Mitchell.
Darius Robinson, edge, going to the Lions. Tyler Guyton going to Baltimore. And then Aeneas Rackstraw does go to San Fran.
We got that one right.
And then Donnie Mitchell going to the Chiefs.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. I'm actually genuinely surprised with how many of the picks we actually did get right with with some of the ones in the later rounds. Like obviously, like the first 3 we all predicted. I'm surprised that they don't have Marvin Harrison Jr. going at 4. Also, what kind of dumbass is picking Malik Neighbors over Marvin Harrison Jr.?
The Cardinals, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know, but that there you have it, guys. That is our comparison from our mock draft to the experts, again, in quotes, mock draft.
And again, we got pretty close. We had no trades, and we actually had
we were still
chunk of them
relatively
right.
close. Not bad, not bad. So, guys, we are coming to the closing parts of the show. So, obviously, guys, this is going to be charged up with Kenny, the Chargers Corner.
Okay, so with the... Hold on 1 second.
Just give us one moment, guys.
All right, sorry about that. I had to find my notes for this because I'm going to be going in on Tua turn the ball over today.
I have a feeling
Obviously,
we're going to get Angry Kenny, which I like Angry Kenny.
All right, so first off, to everyone that says he's better, there's not one thing Tua does better than Justin Herbert. I mean, my co-host here, can you name one thing that Tua does better than Justin Herbert right now off the top of your head?
Turn the ball over.
Yeah, it's something positive, though. I don't think you can name anything. I mean, he's very good at overthrowing and underthrowing the football, though.
Yeah, no, he's definitely got a cannon. It's just not
Now,
an accurate cannon. Just not an accurate.
Now let's talk about this real quick. So people believe that Herbert has a better supporting cast than Tua does. And to some degree, that was correct. But our supporting cast was also injured a lot. So there wasn't really much to go off of there, right?
I also disagree. I think Tua had the better supporting cast.
Now, I decided that because people like to throw stats out there anytime you do debates and stuff like that, right? I decided, let me see what the stats are here. And, you know, I did the math for this a few days ago when I was in a direct argument with somebody about this specific topic. I did the math for Tua's numbers versus Herbert's numbers, right? So Tua, if you took away his 2 best weapons, being Waddle and Tyreek, and mind you, I'm going to do the same thing with Herbert. So for those, you know, Tua knob swallowers and stuff, I'm going to make sure it's on an even playing field here. But without his 2 top receivers, Tua would only have 42 touchdowns and under 5,500 yards in 4 years. Does that sound like elite numbers to you?
You have to remember, I'm a
in
Bears
4
fan.
years.
Anything better than what I'm used to sounds elite.
So now, with Keenan Allen,
Or at least
and
was a Bears fan. I can't keep going around that cycle. I finally got off that
I'm not
carousel
gonna.
of hell.
Now with Herbert, I'm going to mention specifically his touchdown numbers here because it's going to be harder to add up the numbers for Keenan and Mike. But so I'm going to do that real quick before I come back with that number. Obviously, Mike Williams didn't really do a lot with Phillip Rivers before, so a lot of his stats are coming from Justin Herbert specifically. If you look at just the touchdown numbers, you're taking roughly the same away from Justin Herbert as Tua, and in fact, you're actually taking a little bit more due to the fact that he also didn't miss a lot of games. But with Herbert, he would still have roughly 71 touchdowns in his 4 years.
Uh-oh.
He would still be above 1,200 passing yards even without his two best weapons, though. So though his numbers wouldn't be as elite, they'd still look. He'd be averaging about 20 touchdowns a year, which isn't too bad. Whereas with Tua, he's only averaging like 8, like a little more than 8, maybe 9 or 10. That's a big gap. 10 average touchdowns to 20 average touchdowns. That's a pretty good gap if you ask me.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a substantial gap.
And then on top of that, we try to talk about defenses. Herbert has never had a top end or even a middle ground defense. His defense has always been in the bottom 10 his entire career.
Even though the Chargers defense really shouldn't.
They shouldn't be, but, the combination of our staff being shitty at, managing our players in terms of keeping them in peak physical condition, I guess, isn't that good because they get injured all the time.
And the retard that is known as Brandon Staley that needs to be launched into the fucking sun.
We'll get to that here shortly. With defenses, Herbert's never had one that's in the top 25. I think most of his has been 25 or 32 in that range. Whereas Tua's defense has always been kind of a little bit above 20, but a little bit below 10. So he's always had a mid-range defense, but middle-range defense would get Herbert more wins than than the defense he was having in the past 4 years. And I don't think that's a tough or very hard take. I think everyone agrees that if Herbert had even a mid-tier defense, he'd probably have made the playoffs every season.
Yeah.
Now, on top of that, you look at coaching staff. Well, our coaching staff was basically Brandon Staley getting to say whatever he wants people to do, and then they do it. Let's be honest at this point. Because, now, let me make this clear. I'm not saying Josh McDaniels or whatever the fucking guy's name is. I'm not saying he's a genius or anything, but he's competent enough to know that you don't give 5 to 7 yards of separation to your fucking opponents every single play. Like, imagine you're told to give Tyreek Hill 5 to 7 yards off the line of scrimmage. How do you think that's going to go?
Yeah, no, let's not do that.
So, obviously, our coach is a little bit of an idiot. The coaching staff in general was never good. The person in charge of our player health has been god-awful basically every season.
Your owner is a literal piece of garbage.
And not to mention our general manager is also an idiot that cannot draft depth at all on this team, which also leads into the losses a lot more often than not. But let's just say for a second, right? You want to know the leading reason why Herbert's better than Tua? Because we can't even use playoffs because Tua and Herbert both went to the playoffs, but Herbert played substantially better and did not have a fumble in his game or an interception. Tua had an interception, and he refused to push the ball down the field. Herbert will push the ball down the field when he has to. And also when the pre-snap looks good, he will take a shot. Tua will not take a shot unless he sees his wide receivers 10 yards away from whoever he's throwing to. Because he knows he's going to overthrow him by another 5 to 10 yards, but he knows that he can run under it. So, to me, that speaks volumes as well. If Herbert's down 20, do you really think he's taking 5-yard checkdowns the entire way? Or do you think he's going to chuck a 50-yard bomb and try to get a big chunk of it?
Oh, no, I've seen Herbert chuck that ball. I know he likes to go deep.
See, and Tua down multiple scores in a playoff game in Arrowhead against Kansas City with limited opportunities, decided that the best use of those was to throw it less than 5 yards basically every single time.
Yeah, no, you make some compelling arguments.
And then lastly, the one other way you can know that Herbert is better than Tua as well, simply put, who has an extension right now and who doesn't? If Herbert was not proven to be a great quarterback, do you really think he would have gotten a deal before Tua, or do you think it would be vice versa? I think the guy that just got paid is the better quarterback, but maybe I'm just what's the word? Oh yeah, smart when it comes to football.
I don't know, man. People out there are crazy, but like I said, this is also our time to be biased, so I'm not gonna like try to rain on your parade or anything. I'm like I said, this is my segment to keep quiet.
And then the last thing I want to bring up when it comes to Tua basically needs people that run fast because, like I've said to you multiple times, the man is not accurate. He is he would be the lead cadet in a fucking stormtrooper fucking school, okay? That's how bad he is. We obviously play Helldivers together. He's the guy you leave at the base because he's that fucking incompetent. That stays where the fucking zone is. You put turrets there because you know that dumbass can't hit anything, and you make him stay there until you need to get extracted. That's the
and then even then you play some democratic roulette for the last seat on the ship.
So to me, it's pretty simple. Tua, great job, man. You have a better record, but you also have a better everything else than Herbert has for the most part.
Well, guys, that is going to pretty much do it for Charged Up, I think. Unless you got anything else.
Yeah, that's all I have to say. It's pretty obvious Herbert's better than Tua, and there's no debating it.
All right, guys. So that brings us to our fourth and final segment of the show, guys. We're going to be closing out Fuck Up of the Week.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Guys, for this week, on Fuck Up of the Week, I actually nominate the people that wrote that shitty QB classes ranking list because that draft class that they ranked as number one is no. I'm sorry, just no.
By the way, did you have a nominee for that before that, or did you not, and that just so happened to help you figure it out?
Yeah, for real. Like, were you just, like, trying to, like, place numbers around and that's what was left, or, like, what? Because, come on. Not to mention, we have the same draft class that Rex Grossman was in the top 10. Brother, what?
Like, you can agree on the lower-ranked ones for the most
part. Some of the lower ones I can agree on, yes, but some of those higher ones, like, brother, what are you smoking?
Like, you're telling me that you think, for example, let's just use the 2004 classes. That's specifically what we're mad at. Do we really think that Rivers, Roethlisberger, and Eli can outperform Burrow, Herbert, and Tua? Tua's the weakest link there, obviously.
Yeah, no, and I still think Tua outperforms those guys by a mile.
Considering their worst is Eli and their worst is Tua, yeah, I think Tua's better than Eli by a country mile.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's really up for debate. Whoever made that list, I feel like they were just throwing numbers around, and like I said, that's what was left when they got to number one.
All right, so yeah, I think that's the end of the show today. We went for
about
almost
an hour and 45, a little bit shorter than 2 hours, but you know what? For a show that's usually 90 minutes to 2.5 hours long, not bad.
We're basically right on track with our usual
pretty
time
much,
frame,
yeah.
though.
We usually like to keep it like 90 minutes to 2 hours. Obviously, the first few episodes obviously leaked over into 3 a little bit because obviously we had a whole bunch to talk about, especially like weeks 1 and 2. But yeah, I definitely think for a show that we like to keep at like 90 minutes to 2 hours, I definitely think we're doing a pretty good job of doing so.
But yeah, I think if you consider the fact that we started about 40 minutes late, that's still a good size show, and we're finishing right around when we normally
did
would.
start late today, and even though we did do a pretty decent show. So
Yeah,
yeah,
this
guys.
is right around when we normally end it. So.
Yeah, pretty much. So guys, that's going to do it for us here in the Helmet Haven, guys. Again, guys, this is your last weekly episode that you will be getting until the season starts. The next time we will be seeing you guys will be when we do our live reactions to the first round of the NFL draft. Which will be, Kenny, I don't remember the exact date off my head. You want to pull that up for me real quick?
I believe it's Friday, but let me double check that real quick. Okay, so the NFL draft will start April 25th, so it'll be next Thursday.
So yeah, guys, we'll see you in a week. And I guess that'll kind of be the end of the weekly episodes. You know, after 6 episodes after we do our live
we
reactions
talked about
to the
this
first round.
before. I think we talked about this before. We're going to do one more after the draft.
Yeah, but I also feel like we could probably save that for 2 weeks after the draft, just so we, you know, have more to talk about. I feel like we can probably wait the 2 weeks after the draft to continue.
All right, yeah, let's just do that. So yeah, it'll be we'll see you guys the 25th for the NFL draft for the first round specifically, and we'll probably see you this first week of May or the second week of May.
I'm looking at my calendar. Yeah, that looks about right. Second week of May. So yeah, guys, that's when we will see you next, second week of May, at least after the draft. Obviously, you know, the draft isn't really going to be a full-on episode. That's really just going to be like a live reaction bonus thing for anyone that's been enjoying the podcast. But yeah, guys, we will see you guys next week for the draft. Kenny, you want to say anything to people before we go?
Per usual, thank you all for showing up and hopefully enjoying our show here. We do our best to think of these pretty early on. Obviously, we had that day of delay due to unforeseen circumstances, and then we had a bit of a late start today. But
you know what? I still think we put out a pretty kick-ass show for this week.
And keep in mind, guys, I just want to make sure this is clear. I've been walking around this entire time I've been talking.
Yeah, no, the audio quality has not been that terrible, actually, aside from when you had that fire truck.
Yeah, but anyways, we'll see you guys on the 25th, and then the second week of May will be the next time we see you guys.
Yes, indeed, guys. We're going to get out of here. We'll see you guys later.
Again, pretty solid show.
Now I got a crew now, met a loyal girl 4 years later, that's my boo wow. And now I'm out here giving new sounds like boom pow.